black. We're black.
Welcome to WestLINK, where we connect. At this time, we will be playing a tribute for Wayne Ambrose. He was both a pillar of the Seventh-day Adventist community and also really big in the music ministry at Toronto West. At this time, I will invite Greg Burkett to the screen.
Thank you. Where do you begin with a guy like Wayne? I was talking to Dennis Hall this week. Dennis Hall is a good friend of Wayne Ambrose's, and we were communicating, and Dennis actually said something that sort of resonated with me. We were actually communicating through email, and I asked him how he was dealing with Wayne's passing, and he said that he goes between wanting to cry and wanting to laugh at jokes that he remembers that Wayne said or things that he did. And it just summed it up to me. That's exactly how I was feeling. And I feel like that's how a lot of us were feeling too when we think about Wayne. We're so sad that he's gone, but the memories of him are just, you're going to laugh. You have to laugh whenever you think about Wayne. I remember this one particular time when I was at a plaza near my house. I drove to the plaza, parked the car, just about to get out of the car. And as I get out of the car and I'm about to close the door rather, and someone comes up behind me and throws me against my car and starts frisking me. And I'm lost. What's going on? I look back and it's crazy Wayne Ambrose behind me, frisking me, patting me down and reading me my rights. And at the time I look over and I see people in the parking lot looking at us, wondering, what on earth is going on? Wayne was just that kind of guy, just spontaneous and hilarious. We looked up to him so much when we were growing up. He was our basketball hero. I remember this one time we went on one of those church trips to the States, and we're playing, the Toronto West team was playing against a church from the States. And I was probably a teenager, maybe around 14 or 15. And Wayne and the older guys were out on the court, and they were winning. Toronto West was winning by say 15 or 16 points. And Wayne decided, and Wayne was of course the leading scorer and just facilitating everything out there on the court because he was just an amazing player. And Wayne, looking at the time and the amount that Toronto West was up by in the game, decides that he's going to go and take off his, take off his uniform and change. So he goes, takes off his uniform and changes and comes back out, and everybody starts screaming, "Wayne, look at the score," because the other team started coming back the minute Wayne stepped off the court. So he had to run back into the change room, change, and get right back in to the game again. Wayne, just so crazy. There was this thing that he used to do with us when we were younger. He would come up behind us, and all of the guys at Harvey remember this. All the guys from my age group. Wayne would come up behind us and slap us on the bum and say, "Way to go, Joe." If we had done, say for instance, we had done something in divine worship, or whatever, we did something good in Sabbath school or whatever, he would come up behind us and slap us on the bum and say, "Way to go, Joe." And then it turned into this thing. Anywhere we saw him, we would either be trying to give him a way to go Joe, or he'd be trying to give us the way to go Joe treatment. He was a really, he could be funny and just quick-witted and all of that, but at the same time, he could also be serious. He would encourage me with my writing. There was one year when I had written an Easter play, and he thought that I was going to get some flack for, something that was in the play. And he just really encouraged me and really told me, don't worry about it. And if anyone, comes at you, send them to me. Our friend Colin Stewart had a birthday party. It was his 40th birthday party. And we all got a chance at that point in time to tell Wayne, how we felt about him, because Wayne happened to be the MC. He and I were co-hosting together. And that day, we all got a chance to tell him how much we looked up to him. And it really meant a lot to us, and it meant a lot to him as well. I want to read two quick tributes from two friends of mine who would consider themselves Wayne's little brothers as well. One is from a guy named Kareem Polidor. Many of you would remember Kareem from back in the Harvey days. And the other one is from Randolph Taylor. So I'm just going to say what Kareem said really quickly. And this was in our group chat on WhatsApp. But I just really liked what these two guys had to say. Kareem said, "When I think of Harvey, Wayne always comes to mind. I talked to him almost 2 years ago to give him details of my mother's funeral, and I was honestly so happy to hear his voice. He provided comfort at a time when I really needed it. I looked up to Wayne. I wanted to be like Wayne. I even thought he would live until he was 100 years old because he was so fit and healthy. One of the biggest role models in our lives has gone, one of my heroes. Just wish I had told him that when we talked. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Ambrose family. May God give them strength to carry on until we see him again." And then Randolph Taylor said, "My mind is blown over the fact, although we are all different individuals with different personalities, ages, and genders and temperaments, he still found a way to connect with all of us. We all felt the same way about him. That is astonishing. Wayne was many things: funny, athletic, smart, compassionate, responsible, mischievous, well-spoken, genuine, and grounded. But most of all, he was a man of God. I am in my 40s, and I still want to be like Wayne. He will never be forgotten. I thank God for giving me the great honor of knowing such a person." And I'm just going to move into my tribute. It'll be very quick, and I just wrote it, so bear with me. "A big brother like no other. You were like Superman. And like that man at every Raptors game, I was your super fan. To me, you were cooler than most. You could sing, you could ball, you could act, you even ran track. And for concerts, weddings, and parties, you were a most sought-after host, full of jokes. Your wit was too quick, and we loved every second and minute of it. The fun you'd poke with everyone in passing. Sometimes you had my face and sides hurting from laughing. The rhetorical question I'm asking is, how do we get over this loss? What will our first Easter production be like without the man who could play Judas or a drunk one year and then the next play our Savior on the cross? What will our first week be like when we step back into that place and look around and wait for that big bear hug embrace, or to see that $1 million grin on your face, or to see you charging down the aisle with your broad back holding up your base? To capture who you were to us in words is a waste, is futile, is frustrating. You touched lives. You were simply that amazing. You touched lives in every category, from seniors to those in their mid-40s, to young adults and teenagers, to little kids listening to your crazy children's stories. Using basketball skills and drills to teach life lessons. Using singing, drama, and musical instruments to share God's blessings. Using humor and hugs and playful tugs, your tools of de-stressing. Trying to train my brain to get used to life without Wayne. It's not working. I'm confessing. From Harvey Avenue basement socials to Camp Frenda to Teen AY, your influence is all over my life, and that's precisely why I will never forget you. Definitely indebted to you. Athlete and tech guru, I never knew anyone who could do half the things that you could do. Your Harvey little brothers and sisters, we will deeply miss Mr. Wayne K. Ambrose, every last one of us, one and all. Can't wait to see you, big bro, when the trumpet sound and resound sound, when the trumpets sound and resound in surround sound, and you playfully tap us on the butt and tell us to get in line for roll call. We're going to miss you, Wayne. God bless.
But it refused to go because Richard Spice, a black man, invented the automatic gear shift, and Joseph Gamble, a black man, invented the supercharged system for the internal combustion engine.
We're just going to have to walk to the store.
Mommy, I don't want to walk.
So come around here and we're going to walk.
Ouch! Look, Mommy, look! An accident! Another one! And another one! What's happening, Mommy?
Welcome back to WestLINK, where we connect. At this time, I would like to introduce my co-host, Angelin.
Hi.
So on today's episode, we'll be discussing music and encouragement. We have three guests that are going to be a part of the show, and they'll be discussing their experience in music ministry in their own right. At this time, I would first like to introduce Cody, Kevin,
Hello.
and Ray.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
So I would like each of you to introduce yourselves, discuss about your experience in music, and what you like about music, how you're involved in music. Starting with Cody.
So my name is Cody Cornwell. I am the leader of Cody Cornwell and Change. I've been singing for a long time. The group has been together for about 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. So I'm still kind of fresh in the game. But yeah.
I'm Kevin Adams. I'm the leader of Kevin Adams and Voices of Praise. I've been singing for about 20 years. But the ministry came together in 2014. We did our first live recording in 2016. And we have an album out called One Church United Phase 1. A single, and we're working on some new music. God has been good.
Amen.
Amen.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ray Bramble. I am a talent and tour manager, and I have my own talent management firm called R. Addington and Associates. Two of my most popular clients are the Howard University Gospel Choir, as well as Reginald Golden, who's a singer, songwriter, and a musician in his own right. What do I love about music? What do I not love about music? I love listening to all forms, all genres. Gospel music is where I started in church, and my love for that has taken me literally all over the world. So without music, I wouldn't be here.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for joining us on the show today, and thank you for that lovely introduction, dear Andre. We're going to kick it off. We don't have a lot of time to spend, so we want to utilize the time as best as we can. So, Cody, here's a question for you. What is your point of view for not having your group under the umbrella of the church?
Well, I first started off with a choir, which is connected to a church, and then I I kind of branched out of that only because there's a lot of rules when it comes to having it connected with a church, but also the group that I have now, we kind of started years ago. It just wasn't Cody Kono and Change. So the group that I have now, we've been singing for since we were like, I think I was in like elementary or something. But for it not being a part of a church, it does give you more of like a free way of like to do kind of what you want. There's not too many rules, but it is more. There's more of a responsibility because you're since you're the leader, you're gonna get everything. Um, I feel like if you're under a church, you kind of have to abide by those rules, so it kind of saves you from certain things. But for me, I just wanted to do it because one, we've been doing it for years, and it's just for me, it's just easier to do. Especially the kind of singing that we do isn't so churchy or like hymns like that. So I was able to branch off, kind of do what I wanted to do, if that makes sense, without sounding too like fleshy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you. What you're saying is you want to do your ministry and you cater to a certain genre of people and you wanted to keep it that way. Whereas in the Seventh-day Adventist church or some church, you have restrictions on the style of ministry and so forth. I totally get that. Now, with the diversity, the diversities that you face, the challenges that you face, how do you overcome that because you are a Seventh-day Adventist person? Now you cater to a wide range of people. How do you overcome those adversities and still remain true to who you are?
One, I will say, if you're a leader or you have a group, you need to have a support system that's one always going to tell you the truth. When it first started off, even like this year, we do get a lot of like backlash from church people, and people say we sing too loud, we sing too high, we do this, we do that. But I used to get very upset about it, and it used to really bother me. But I had a group of friends that used to tell me they've been through the same thing. It's probably not going to get any better. Just push through. Don't focus on those people, because if you do, one, it's going to really affect you mentally, and probably physically too. You just need to blank out those people, because one, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for God. As long as one person is blessed, that's all we came here to do. Just bless one person. You trust and believe you probably won't bless the entire church because not everybody's gonna like what you're singing, like what you're doing. But just make sure you just don't think about it too much. Don't let those things get to your head. That's what I do, at least.
Fantastic. And those are great, encouraging words. Thank you.
Next, we have Kevin. Now, my question for you is, how heavy is the magnitude of your position as a gospel artist?
It's pretty heavy. You can look at it on different perspectives. For one, also being an example within your community, right? Being in the forefront as an artist, like I have a team, I have background singers, I have a band, but I'm usually in the forefront, and people will know your face. You usually, I'm going to go in this direction. You usually have to think twice about anything that you're going to do. For example, social media. If you're going to post anything, if you're going to say anything, you usually have to think twice. Is this the right thing to say, even being in the position that you're in? And as well, you have to understand that you're being watched by everybody, from pastors, because we do gospel music. At the end of the day, it's to glorify the Lord. And you're being watched by pastors, churches that want to book you. They're watching your life. They're going to go on your Facebook page and see who you are. They're going to go on your Instagram and see who you are. They're going to call your pastor and see who you are. And then afterwards, you have a responsibility to live the life, right? Of course, right? None of us are perfect, but there's just so many things. And then afterwards, you want to look at the musical aspect of it. You have to stay on par. So you have to go to your vocal training. You have to manage your team. And it's just, it can get really heavy at times. And then there comes the criticism part. It's just a lot of stuff.
So here's another question then. Do you see issues, or do you find yourself having issues with finding a common ground between the gospel industry and ministry as a whole?
No, the gospel industry, the main focus is to minister the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's to minister the gospel. It's to impact lives, win souls. That's the main, for me, the main direction. That is what it's about. And for my music especially, and what we put out, I want to impact the world. I want everybody to know who Christ is. I want everybody to receive him, right? Wise souls, right? And so even though we have an industry, the excellence part, we want to put out good music. We want to put out a high level of music. We want to be excellent, sound great, everything like that, just like other industries you want to look at for music. But the ministry component has to be there, right? Because that's why we do this in the first place.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right, Ray.
Hi.
Ray, you're welcome. Thank you for being a part of our discussion. We so appreciate that.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So my question for you, Ray, is, do you believe that management is a form of ministry?
Absolutely. Management definitely is a form of ministry. A lot of people, when they think of ministry, they think of the front person, think of the person who's singing, or the person who's preaching, or the person who's in charge. And people don't always look at what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on behind the camera. You go to see your favorite gospel artist in a concert. They come out on stage. You don't think about how the person got there. You don't think about, how they arrived in the city, if they flew, if they drove. You didn't think about where they're eating, what hotel arrangements, all those logistics, all that stuff that is required, but no one ever thinks about. That's where management steps in to help the people who are in front gather all those logistics together. And that's essentially what my contribution is in terms of ministry. You're not always going to see me in front, leading a song or preaching or speaking. You may not even ever see me at all, but me or other managers, but we are definitely behind the scenes working to support the people that we work with.
Right. And that is a very difficult task. Having that experience with seeing what goes behind the scene, it's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Now, with that, how do you encourage yourself to keep going, as well as to keep the groups that you work with functioning despite all these difficult things that will come upon you and that does come upon you?
You definitely have to want to do this. You definitely have to want to do this. There's another artist manager that I kind of follow on social media, and he has this saying, and I laughed the first time I heard him say it. He said, people always whenever things go well, people thank Jesus, praise God. But when you're an artist and things go bad, you blame management. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like,
How does that
manage.
work?
No one thought to thank management, when the album sold well or when,
Yeah.
people were blessed. No one thought then, but as soon as things go bad. And, I say that jokingly, but, as a manager or someone behind the scenes, you have to understand what your role is and what your contribution is. And at the end of the day, if the people who I'm working with, who I'm serving, as long as they have an appreciation for what I do, and I know that I'm being valued in that way, it's not something that you should get into if you're looking for accolades and awards, and if you want, your name on the door, because it just doesn't happen, especially in gospel. It doesn't happen in gospel music. That's just not how it works.
Right. Fantastic. So what's that one thing that you do to keep yourself encouraged?
Encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever there is a successful moment that does happen with the clients that I work with, I know my role in what helped make that happen. So I take satisfaction in a job well done, regardless of who pats me on the back or who says, "Hey Ray, good job." So if I come up with an idea for a tour, and I reach out to the different partners, I book the tour, we travel, we make it happen, and then we finish the tour and it's successful. I know for me, I know what I did. I know what my contributions were. And as long as the people, again, that I'm working with, they recognize it, I'm glad there's a job well done.
Fantastic. So know your goal and know yourself and know who you're doing this for, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
At this time, we will start our roundtable talk segment. Now, this is a group conversation, and to our viewers, you are free to join in and start live comments. But yeah, firstly, we'll be discussing money. Now, money and ministry and how the two coincide, your views on if they should coincide, and starting with Cody.
I think it depends on what ministry you're doing. For me, money would be a key thing because this is a lot of work that we're doing. We aren't funded by church, so it's not like I could go somewhere and be like, can we get this amount so we could pay the band, or can we get this amount for gas, or it. I don't think people really understand the amount of work and time and energy and money all of this takes. It takes a
Yeah.
lot. And even for me as a leader, I'm not most of the time, all of the time basically, I'm not getting money. So
Mhm.
the money that we're trying to, or we do get, it goes towards the band, or
Yep.
like recording and all that stuff. It does take money and take time. So for me, I think it is something that you do need. Now, if you're just a praise and worship leader at your church, I don't feel like you need to be like, asking for money, because that's just, once again, that's at your church. Now,
Mhm.
if you take your ministry to another church, you can kindly ask for a little something. But most likely they won't. And I feel like the church, when it comes to money, they're a little bit I don't want to say shady, but a little
Hesitant.
rough when it comes to money, because they don't want
Yeah.
to give it up too fast unless it's like a pastor or something. But when it comes to singers, it's kind of like we get like frowned upon if we're like, well, are we able to get a little something because you know we did come here and do all this. But yeah, that's how I feel about money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with Cody. Listen, I have a manager and I have a booking team. Now for church, listen, I've been leading praise and worship for 17 years. I've never been compensated for leading praise and worship at church. But when it comes to the ministry aspect of it, you one thing that I know is they want optimal performance. They want you at your highest. You want you at your peak, and they want great sound. They want everything. Unfortunately, that costs, right? And as leads, I think Cody could attest to this as well. We sometimes have to take that out of our own pocket. Now, I have 4 kids, and they eat a lot, and some of them are young, and I have to buy Pampers. and a gas, and I have a wife, right? And you have to take care of your wife too. So there's money has to be allocated there, and then money has to be um, um, allocated to my musicians who are playing skillful and who have to take time to study the craft and everything like that. It's just, and so we also have a booking fee. Now, I know certain churches wouldn't agree with that aspect, but to bring in everything, all the singers, 9 singers, myself, a full band, and a sound engineer for it to sound great, a Patty and a Pop's not going to really do it.
True, right?
And that's for the outside ministry, because again, we're not funded by churches. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. And it's tough, right? This is people's time, right? And this is everybody's time. People have kids. People have jobs, and they could be giving up that time to make money to minister to the congregation and bless the congregation.
I Yeah, I think money is always a very touchy topic when it comes to ministry. A lot of people don't understand that salvation is free. Salvation is free, but ministry costs. Even if, and people don't realize that even if I come somewhere with my ministry and we come and we do a great job and you didn't pay me, that does not mean that there was not a cost for what happened, because time equals money. So because I came and I gave and I poured into your church and I ministered to your people, there was a cost and there was a sacrifice somewhere. And I don't think that we as in churches don't always understand that, and we also don't always respect our singers and our musicians to realize that they could be elsewhere making thousands of dollars literally doing the same thing. So you literally can be in other circles in secular environments, at corporate gigs or whatnot, or other places singing and making thousands of dollars. I don't say that to say that churches should go bankrupt or take money out of paying the church's bills in order to be able to compensate musicians and singers. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying that if you are going to ask for a certain level of quality, and if you're going to want a certain level of presentation, you have to understand that that comes at a cost. And it's a touchy subject that people don't always want to have a conversation about. But the reality of the matter is that there are expenses that people have. There are expenses, So that's always an interesting dialogue to have, especially when churches are involved.
And to follow up with what Ray was just saying, I was just previously in a choir at Oakwood University, Aeolians, and we toured all over the world. Now, the issue that we faced as members of the choir is we weren't as appreciated from our Seventh-day Adventist church. However, outside of our church, people would pay thousands of dollars to hear us sing. They would fly us out to international locations to hear our ministry and to be touched by what we have to say or what we have to share with one another. So I just feel like sometimes the bigger picture should be highlighted, not just because you're singing should it be as, I guess, voluntary, but this is a ministry. We're sharing love and light from God and what God has given us, and that shouldn't be taken lightly.
I absolutely agree. Now, in lieu of that, some people will say, well, it was a choice that you made. You chose to do this, so why should you be compensated for it? Especially if you have a job outside of that. Ministry is not looked upon as a pastoral duty. It is something extra that you do. How would you speak to that?
Well, yes, I chose to sing, but now you guys are asking me to come and sing at your church. So I think what people don't understand, I'm speaking for singers because I don't play piano or any instrument. As a singer, we have to protect this. If this is gone, it's over for us. It's not like we could try to repair it and do all these things, drink our lemon water or honey lemon water. That's not gonna work. So we gotta go a whole bunch of stuff, and it does take time and money to do so. So I know it is just for like it's my idea to go and sing, but it still takes a lot of time. Yes, I I do have another job. I do this and that, but it still takes time and effort to get these things done.
Right. I absolutely agree because for myself, when I go out to sing, I don't expect for payment on on Sabbath worship segment, kind of a thing. But when it is acknowledged, I think it is so valued in terms of I appreciate you taking the time out from traveling distance or coming out to bless. It's not a payment type of a thing. It's just a different perspective of what you do. It takes time as it said, and it takes a lot out of what you do. Shouldn't hinder that and so forth. So it is a ministry in and of itself. And I think we, especially within the Seventh-day Adventist Church, need to look at it a little bit more as such and respect people's time. As the discussion was before, you go to school to study this. It is a career thing. You do expect perfection when it's being delivered. So therefore, it needs to be acknowledged as such.
Absolutely.
I would also like to say that singing evangelists, if you go to evangelistic series, there's always a singing evangelist. Singing evangelists are paid. And I never understood the differentiation, I guess, between a singing evangelist who is singing for an evangelistic series and a minister who comes to churches and shares their ministry with the congregation. To me, I feel like it's the same thing because both individuals are called. They're called to be peculiar people from God. And if God has given them this gift, this talent to share with his people, I genuinely think if a singing evangelist can be paid for their ministry, come on, a music ministry in itself, a group, a choir, whether it be paid as a specific rate or in a love offering, appreciation. It's not always about the monetary gift, yes, but appreciation for the ministry and allowing for the ministry to continue because things cost, would be a great, addition to a guest performance, I would say.
Absolutely. One thing that I do think that these moments require, especially in this day and age when people are not buying albums or music the same way they used to, a lot of people stream and they download. So that kind of shifts what your financial reward is for the product you're putting out. I think people do have to be creative in terms of ways in which you are getting your funding. So if you know that, let's say that the 10 churches that have called me to sing, me and my group, they are not going to be able to compensate me. If you understand that and you're not getting called to go elsewhere and you're going to incur these costs, then you have to think about, okay, well, maybe I need to be putting up my music on YouTube and, maybe have a YouTube channel that generates income that way, and maybe figure out other ways. Or maybe, and the truth is that sometimes maybe you're not necessarily called for your main performance base to be in church. Maybe you are supposed to be called to do elsewhere. Like I mentioned before, I manage the Howard University Gospel Choir, and sometimes we can go months not singing in a church at all. And that's not because we're turning down church gigs; it's because we get opportunities to travel elsewhere to do different things. And it's the gospel of Jesus Christ it's global. It's supposed to be taken everywhere. It's not just taken to our brothers and sisters in church. And so a lot of us sometimes, we're fighting. Sometimes there's competition amongst groups in specific cities, or, this group has it. And it's like, guys, there's more than enough work for all of us. You know what I'm saying? So it's sometimes you got to be creative and look, okay, hey, maybe I should be looking for opportunities elsewhere, maybe outside of my denomination, or maybe outside of the church, maybe in corporate settings. There are people everywhere that need to hear about the love of Christ, and they're not necessarily always sitting in between the four walls of your local home church.
That's right. And that's so important because not everyone likes the idea of attending a church environment. There are some people who, again, like the values and like the morals and like all of these things that come with being a Christian, but they're not comfortable in being a church. So why not take your gospel out to reach those? Is that not what we're called to do?
Absolutely.
I just want to say that yes, ministry and stuff isn't like you're not only supposed to do it within the four walls of the church. But I feel like a lot of, especially like new artists, they are looking at it like, oh, I'm doing this to get big. Some of us, sometimes the Lord gave us a ministry just to minister in our hometown and sing at our local churches. Not
Mhm.
everybody's gonna be big. Not
Mhm.
everybody is supposed to be big because some people,
Mhm.
when they become
Yep.
big, it becomes a very fleshy praise, and it becomes
The
about
different levels,
self.
yeah.
So some
Amen.
people are not supposed to be out there trying to get, oh, I'm gonna go get a stellar. That's nice. You're not doing it for the Lord. So I think for a lot of us, we need to actually look at one, why we're doing this, who we're doing this for, what do we want to get out of this? Because if you're when back to the money thing, if you're here for the money, just bow out now.
Hmm.
Because if it's not gonna work out for you. Because if you're looking for money here, you're probably not gonna get it. And what you think you're gonna get, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Um, we I think, especially in Toronto, all the artists in Toronto know that it's really not about the money. And if it is, well, you gotta do some soul searching. It's about impacting lives, right? And to talk about even impacting our communities, right? It's not just about the. I mean, we do artistry, we do music, but we can take it even further and um, there's even special needs individuals. I work with individuals with special needs, and they get the chance to learn and learn about Christ and to hear the gospel as well. Even individuals that I work with who are big time criminal offenders, they've heard my music, they've heard some Cody songs, especially too, and they've been blessed and impacted by it because all they've been listening to is rap and hip hop with all the swearing and everything like that, and now they hear something else. So there's more ways to just being on a stage and ministering to people and hoping to get the money. We could take this to another level, and if we really truly want to impact the world, let's go into our communities.
At this time, we'll be listening to a song by yours truly, Kevin Adams, and Voices of Praise.
2:30.
I will celebrate, sing unto the Lord. Song everybody say, I will celebrate, oh sing unto the Lord. I will sing to Him a new song. I will celebrate, oh sing unto the Lord. I will sing to Him a new song. Here we go. I will praise Him. I will sing to Him a new song. I will praise Him. I will sing to Him a new song. I will celebrate. Oh, sing unto the Lord. I will sing to Him a new song. I will celebrate. Oh, sing unto the Lord. I will sing to Him a new song. I will. Oh, praise Him. Ooh, I will sing to Him a new song. I will praise Him. I will sing to Him. All right, here we go. Sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Come on, we see your dance. Put your hands together. Sing hallelujah, say hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, say hallelujah, 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 say hallelujah, hallelujah. Now everybody's got it. Here we go. I will celebrate, say I will celebrate. I will sing to Him a new song. I will celebrate. Sing unto the Lord. I will sing to Him I will celebrate. Sing unto the Lord. I will sing to him. Let me see you wave those hands and say, I will celebrate. Oh, yes. Sing unto the Lord. We'll sing together. So I will. I will. Praise. I give you all the praise and the glory. I will. Come on, say, let me see you move. I will. Hallelujah, 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 Now I want everybody to put those hands together and go one other way. Stand still and know that He is God. Know that He will never leave your side. Stand still and know that He is God. Know that He will never leave your side. He'll fight your battle. If you let Him, He'll be your refuge. He'll be your comfort. He'll fight your battle. If you let Him, He'll be your refuge. He'll be your comfort. So you should let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let God. You should let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let God. And know that He is good. Will ever leave your side. Stand still and know that He is there. Know that He is there. Know that He will never leave your side. You'll be refuge. You'll be refuge. You'll be a comfort. Fight your battle. You'll be refuge. You'll be a comfort. Fight your So you should let
Ah,
Hallelujah. Amen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was fantastic. Oh
That
man,
was
I
amazing.
like that, right? That was good. So as we move into our second part of our segment here, we keep on the topic of encouragement. We do invite you, the audience, to please send your question in, participate in the conversations, and so forth. So feel free to send your question in and we'll respond accordingly. So on the topic of culture, keeping in mind we're still on encouragement, how do you keep going despite the difficulties? And there are many from different angles. How would you encourage those who are thinking about going into the ministry or taking their ministry on another level?
Well, there's difficulties everywhere in life. So because it's coming from a church, don't think that it's not gonna happen. It's definitely gonna happen. You just need to one have an outlet, be able to speak to somebody who one understands and isn't your yes man. Please hear this. Do not get people who are your yes men because they will lead you astray. Please don't do that. Get people who are really gonna tell you the truth and they're gonna tell you when you're wrong. So get that. I think a lot of a lot of the time, singers and musicians we don't take time for ourselves. So you do need to take time for yourselves because this thing will run you dry. This thing will really take all your energy and all your time. So for me at least, once I see that um we're singing like every week, I'm like, okay, let's take a little like 2 week or 3 week break because it's a lot. So I think you need to really find time for yourself.
Cody, are you saying those negative comments can be actually positive thing?
I'm saying that you just need to take time for yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Honestly, I agree with everything Cody said. Self-care is very important. But going in this thing, it's going to be there's going to be challenges. And yes, I don't have yes people around me. I don't like yes people. It's just my personality. I want you to tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I need to do better. If this sucks, then tell me, right? Don't be honest with me, right? It's okay because all I'm gonna do is take it and try to get better. That's always been my mentality. That's always been my mindset. I always aim to try to get better at what I'm doing, not to overtake and be better than somebody else, but to be the best that I can be, right? But my team can be. The next thing that is especially if you're working with a team, always remember it's a team thing, and you're working with multiple personalities, right? People will take things differently. Some of your team members may not like that you said something and it may have hurt their feelings. You always got to be understanding, but at the same time, you have to stand your ground with certain things. And dealing with multiple people can be a challenge, right? So, I mean, as much as going into ministry, people may think that the challenges may be the singing aspect. It's not always the case. It might be just, dealing with your squad. And that's where there's always will be growth. So be receptive to learning and be willing to grow.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with everything that was mentioned previously. If you're in this for accolades and if you're in this always for people to praise you, that's dangerous. And then two, if you like Cody mentioned, if you have yes people all around you who are always applauding you and they're telling you everything you say is good, those people really don't actually care about you because chances are when things don't go in the direction that you want or things may fall apart, those people probably are either not there, or if they're there, they're not taking responsibility for, helping to contribute to what has fallen apart. But I mean, I definitely think that even in spite of the challenges, like having a career or working in music ministry is so rewarding in so many other ways. Opportunities that you receive, and these could be anything from being on the world's biggest stage to being in the world's smallest church and someone just coming up to you and saying thank you, the song that you sang today really ministered to me. Like all of those experiences and everything in between, those are incredibly rewarding, and so that coupled with just encouraging yourself and encouraging your team members, as Kevin mentioned, self-care is important. It's just a matter of just you can't pour into people if you are empty, if you don't have anything to give. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a step back. People will call and say, hey, can you sing at my church this coming week? I'm sorry, I'm not available. we just got off the road on a tour, or we've had a few, busy 3-month period. We're taking a break. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm sorry if I can't be a part of the event you're planning. I apologize, but if you have to do that for you, then never feel guilty about doing any of that kind of stuff.
Can I say
Yes,
something?
Cody. Yeah, Cody.
Also, along with saying no, once again, I'm not saying no to saying no to everything. Don't do that. But a lot of churches and people who are asking groups and stuff to sing, if we say no, it's not because we don't want to sing. It's because we need time to get ourselves together and prepare our hearts for the Lord, do all that stuff. So please do not take offense when we say no. That has happened to me before where I've said no to somebody because I just needed a break and it became a really big thing. Do not get upset if people say no. We cannot say yes to everything. We really can't. That's all.
And also, sometimes saying no doesn't necessarily have to be about you feeling the situation or you wanting to sing. Sometimes you just literally you talk to God about it and you don't feel comfortable about it. Sometimes with negativity and hearing things from other people, I stay encouraged by ridding myself of self, literally. If I get in the way, that's the issue. God is the forefront, period. God is the reason why I'm doing this. God is the reason why I'm singing. So sometimes if I don't want to do it, or if I find myself not in a position where I'm not going to be doing this gig or singing at this church, it's because I talked to God and God told me, if you're not feeling it, I want you to have a sincere heart, and if you're ministering to people, sincerely spread his worship.
And that's a huge thing, because it depicts and it differentiates between I am about ministry and I'm not just a singer or a musician or whatever segment of where you fit in. I am ministering. What I do is for God. And if right now I'm going through a phase where I'm not in that connection, or I'm not in that place where I need to be, so that when I minister to you, it is a genuine interaction, because that's what it is. I can't, and it needs to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
As Cody has said, again, it's taken personal, but it's not personal. And as a ministerial person, you can't always take that on, because you're dealing with different people within your group. You're dealing with different personalities outside of your group. And that in and of itself is what it is. So the encouragement that you have to keep focused, it is so important to know that what you are doing is a ministry, and I'm not doing it for praise. It fits into not only the financial aspect of it, but all aspect of what we're doing. Not to cut off, but there was a question that was asked, and it's going back to payment, or the monetary portion of ministry. The question was, musicians or vocalists, singers are paid. How is that not applied to musicians? So the singer is paid. What about the drummer? What about the bass player? What about the pianist? What are your views on that portion?
Singers don't really get paid. Well, for me at least. If we're getting paid, it's going straight to the band. It's not coming my way.
Yeah, for me, I'm the last one. So it's if my band, my singers, whatever's left comes to me. Comes out of my pocket is for me anyway. So I rarely see compensation or any offering or anything like that. I'll get food, but not necessarily money.
Well, I think different groups work differently. So I've seen cases where at some churches, the whole band, all the singers, praise and worship leader, everybody gets a check. Other churches, the musicians get paid, the singers don't. I think it just depends on what the space looks like and what what works in that environment? If you have people who are able to volunteer their time without compensation, then so be it. If the church has the ability to be able to compensate everyone, then so be it. If you're not, if I do think that if anyone is in a position where they feel as though they are being drained and they are being taken advantage of, then that's something that they should take up. That's a spiritual thing they should take up between themselves and God and with the leadership of the church. And if you have to leave a position because you think you're being drained in that way, at the end of the day, you answer to God and to no one else. And so if you feel as though you're in a position at a church where you're not being productive or you're being taken advantage of and you don't feel it's right for you to be there, I see nothing wrong with someone stepping away or going in a different direction. Because again, you're answering to God and not to man.
Right.
I would like to say, in following up with Kevin Cornwall's live comment, he was saying that not everybody or anybody can just jump on an instrument. I would say this: for the last 4 years, like I mentioned earlier, I was living in the States, going to school at Oakwood University. One thing I realized the difference between Canada and the U.S. churches, they, I guess, they fund their music ministry. The music ministry is something they invest in. Why? Because a lot of the souls that they reach out and grab is through music ministry. A lot of their ministries are on live platforms, and they ensure that a certain standard is upheld. Certain things are broadcasted in a certain way. There's never going to be an issue with music because they invest in it. And I think it also has to do with culture, because come on now, we understand that we come from a Caribbean based background and everybody sings essentially. And singing is not something that is seen as something as an investment. It's something that, we just got up and do. We open our hymnal, we just sing. And I feel like if specific ministries and specific demographics are focused on, we would have a better outcome in the souls we're trying to reach and the amount we reach. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so from here, the question again that we're getting a lot of comment on is the paid industry. So we have a mixture. We're going to be wrapping up very soon, so we're going to have to be very quick and to the point on this. The mixture of personnels that we have here, the difference between a payment thing in a Seventh-day Adventist church, and it's a big question, in a Seventh-day Adventist church versus churches of different denominations. Now, when you go out to these churches, are you always paid at a different denomination, or how does that work?
This question is funny. In the Adventist church, well, for us at least, you're never gonna be like expecting a payment because you're definitely not gonna get it unless I feel like Adventist churches we focus more on paying our musicians kind of and not the singers. So if like a church is getting somebody like my brother to come and play at their church every Sabbath, they're probably gonna pay him. Singers, we're not gonna get anything. But sorry, just to talk about the things that they're talking about in the comments. Um, I don't think. I think it's your ministry, so you should be able to ask for payment. Now, if the church selects me to be a deacon, it would be a little weird if I'm like, "Can I get paid for being a deacon?" But if you open up your mouth and say that, you tried. The only thing they can do is say no. But for me as a minister, if I'm going somewhere, um, I'm gonna probably say first, okay, we're gonna be expecting a payment because this is what we have to do. Because once again, as somebody said, I think it was my brother who said, you're not gonna be able to be like walk into any church and be like, hey, you go up there and sing. That person probably can't do it, or go up there and play bass. I could sing. I can't play piano. Can't play no other instrument. And trust and believe, me and Kevin went to the same teacher. That's just not my talent. It's just not for me. So you're not really able when it comes to music and like preaching and all those things. You're not able to really pick anybody to do that. Now, to stand at the door and shake somebody's hand, you're probably going to be able to find more people to do that. Once again, not everybody could do it, but more people are able to stand up there with a smile and say happy Sabbath or welcome to church. Singing and stuff, it's going to be really hard, because even like me singing, right? I'm a soprano. There aren't that many sopranos out there, and if they are, they're probably standing in the alto section and they don't want to sing soprano.
Especially
So
being a
even
male, Cody, right?
sorry,
Especially being a male, that's extra special.
exactly. So even like I'm pretty sure you won't be able to go into church and look at a man and be like, "Go up there and sing soprano." He's gonna be like, "What?" It's not gonna happen. So I want to think it depends on how you project that to people, how you say like, "I want to get paid" or whatever. And just know, not every ministry is gonna get paid. I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't know why it's like that, but that's just how it is.
Okay.
Is this question's for everyone? So non 7-day Adventist churches. I've been compensated for singing a couple of places, and there's a couple of places where they've expected me to sing for free, and there's places where you thought there was going to be a compensation and there wasn't. But one thing's for sure is that you have to take care of your team, right? And so that's the main thing. But I think it's just an understanding and the appreciation side of the music and what we do. Um, I think once there's more education, understanding of what's going on and what's happening outside, and of the ministry aspect, and that it's not funded, then people will understand why, I guess, some of us artists are asking for a little compensation or something, right? Especially
Okay.
if you have a team of 15.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. So as it was said, not everyone can be paid, and that is what it is. So our last point, before we have to really close this off, 30 seconds. No, not even 30, 15 seconds. Your thought on the difference between service and ministry. And after you answer, then we're going to get Andre to just finale it off for us. So go ahead, Cody.
The difference between service and ministry. Service for me is like me just singing at a church. I feel like ministry is something that you actually read into, something that is like this is something that I want to do, and me like reading my Bible, reading up on it, actually taking it serious. Service is me just going and being like, okay, yeah, I could sing. This is what I think. I could sing, at the church. That's fine. But ministry is something that one I do for the Lord, and it's something that is not like the typical just go up there and sing a song. Like it's something that I've actually had time to like spend with God and talk to God about it. That's what I think.
Thank you. Kevin, your 15 seconds.
Service for me, I'm here to serve. What do you need me to do? I'm available. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just here to give myself to anything. The ministry aspect, I'm going into the world. I'm going into to do what needs to be done. I guess that's how we can look at it.
For me, I think ministry is what you do, and then service is the way that you do it. And so I personally don't think that service and ministry, that compensation ties in with that piece of it. Like service and ministry, I think those are two different things than like compensation. So I guess you could say that ministry is the noun and your service is the verb, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in, and thank you, Kevin, Cody, and Ray for being our guests today. I would also like to, encourage musicians and let them know that just remember, we are ministers. We are peculiar people. We're set out to do great things for God, and when we rid ourselves of the individual factor and the I, and you remember that we're bringing people closer to Christ, we could use that as encouragement, and remember that this is something that we love to do and God called us to do it. So thank you for joining, and if you would like a part 3, just say in the comments or Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.
All right, thank you.